Joining his slightly less bright cousin Azrael, the Lord Regent of Imperium Nihilus, Commander Dante has also crossed the Rubicon and joined the ranks of the Primaris. Perhaps a little bit sooner than GW originally intended, considering he leaked a few weeks ago, but still, the Angel is now well and truly out the bag, and so they have decided to give us his rules in anticipation of his model, which is going up for pre-order next weekend. Like we've come to expect with most Primaris upgrades, there are relatively few major datasheet changes, to be honest, but there are some, so it's worth taking a little look at what has changed for Commander Dante. First things first, he has gone up in points. He's gone from 165 at present to a tiny bit higher at 175. It's not a huge jump, and for the stat line boost from 6 attacks and 6 wounds to now sporting 7 of each, that is a pretty reasonable increase, I think. He still benefits from the lovely movement of 12 thanks to his jump pack, and the rest is fairly generic Marine HQ profile. He's got a weapon and ballistic skill of 2, strength and toughness of 4, a 2-up save, and of course he has an Iron Halo for a 4-up invulnerable save. The rest of his rules, as you can see, they are side by side on the screen now, have stayed almost identical. He still has a -1 to be hit from his Death Mask, he grants you an extra CP if he's your Warlord, he gives out the standard reroll hit rolls of 1 bubble and is able to choose a unit to give full rerolls to thanks to being a Chapter Master. He also has his really useful Epic Hero of the Imperium ability, which lets him use an Epic Deed stratagem once per battle for no CP, and that means things like Angel's Sacrifice, or more likely only in death does duty end, so that he can fight if he is unfortunately killed before he can swing. His melee weapon, the Axe Mortalis, has remained a strength +3, -3 AP, 2 damage beat stick, so he has 9 strength 7, -3 AP, 2 damage attacks with +1 to wound on the charge when he is in the Assault Doctrine, which, aside from the flat 2 damage, is actually a fairly solid profile. He can do around 10 damage to a T7 3-up save vehicle, or just flat out kill just over 6 intercessors when he fights them after he's charged in, so it's nothing super amazing. Getting a boost to 3 damage like Azrael did, I think would have been really welcome and made him a very much more considered option to take, I think, for 175 points. But again, I do think he's passable, and his melee output is, whilst not amazing, it's okay as long as you go into the right targets and avoid anything that has -1 damage. The only other major change aside from his stat line was actually in his ranged profile in his pistol. This used to just be an Inferno pistol, so it was strength 8, -4 AP, d6 damage and d6 +2 damage within half range. It is now called a Perdition pistol and sports an increased range going from 6 inches to 9 inches, which is actually not too shabby a boost for something like a Melter pistol. It's still strength 8 and -4 AP, but is now always d6 +2 damage, which is again a really nice boost. And then even spicier, it is not just a regular single shot now. It's still pistol 1, but when you fire it, if you score a hit, you draw a line between Dante and the target, and it hits the target unit as well as anything else it passes over. So if you are targeting a Rhino, and they have in the previous turn disembarked a squad of 5 Marines and they're now standing in front of it, you can target the Rhino, and if you roll a hit, you draw a line to the Rhino, go over the Marines, and you hit them too. So essentially, it is a beam profile weapon now, and having that extra 9-inch range has made a big difference to that, because it means you have a lot more scope for hitting a few more models with the beam mechanic. Again, it's not a huge change, and I would argue it still doesn't really make Dante a top meta pick. If you are doing a really competitive tournament list, you're probably still not going to be bringing him for 175 points, but it is a nice glow up for his gun, and if you did want to take him in your list, if you are playing a friendly game or just a more casual sort of tournament setting, this new weapon, as well as his new and improved Primaris profile, for 175 points, he can certainly earn his points back as an anti-elite beat stick. And as I mentioned, as long as you avoid any -1 damage enemies in melee, he can do a fair job against sort of those medium, semi-elite enemies that have 2 wounds, that his weapon profile is almost perfect for going into, especially with that +1 to wound. And then with his new pistol, he's actually surprisingly good at going after enemy vehicles and maybe clipping a model or 2 from another squad and just doing a bit of extra chip damage on them as well. So I mean, overall, he's not quite as brilliant as his new gorgeous model would lead you to believe, I don't think. But I do think he is still very much a must-have for Blood Angel players, just because his new model looks so fantastic, and it's Dante. Like, he's one of the oldest models in all of Warhammer 40k at the moment, so getting this new one, getting this Primaris version is, I think, something that almost all Blood Angel players are. You're going to have to do it just because it's gorgeous. It's like Dark Angel players and Azrael. Even if he isn't great rules-wise, you just need to get him because it's Dante, you know, you have to have him. And I mean, let's be fair, even if you don't think his rules are great, after 1,500 years of service, I think it's almost mandatory to get a few games with him under his belt with his new model before 9th edition ends. I think that's just only fair to him. He's been waiting such a long time, and even though he's not quite there yet, just have a few games with him. He can do relatively well if you play him correctly, and with that 12-inch move, he can get into the combats that you want him to be in. Just don't charge him into an enemy dreadnought or some death guard, and you should be pleasantly surprised, I think. So there we go, that is Commander Dante. What do you think of him? Both his model and his rules. I'd really love to know whether you like the model or whether you like the rules or whether you dislike both or whether you like both. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe for more Warhammer content from me. But until next time, I'll catch you later, guys.